Alrighty, we are live. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Wednesday Privy freaking what do we even call this, Benson? Property hunting with Privy
Wednesday
weekly.
workshop.
Let's
I don't
do it.
know.
Let's do it. Guys, this is something that Benson and I have put a lot of effort into, and just the impact that we know that we're seeing from other people going out there taking action. I don't know if it's just on my end, Benson, but I've been getting a lot of DMs from people telling me they're watching this, saying that they're getting a lot of value. They're understanding how to connect some pieces, being able to see us make some calls. This has been extremely rewarding on my end. Benson, have you been seeing a lot of people succeed from this as well?
Oh yeah, yeah. You can see it in the comments.
For
Um,
sure.
on the videos that because the videos stay up there after we finish,
Yep.
and I think that people are definitely getting value out of it. If anything, it's well, it's training, right? It's
Yep.
education, it's motivation,
Yeah, and I
it's
think too, being able
like
to watch
proof
somebody
that
else do it. Yeah,
yeah, like that, and it's actually entertaining
right.
for a lot of people too, and but also too, like I think for a lot of people, it's just that can it actually be done? Like people are
Mm,
seeing it happen and they're not just like seeing the result. Like someone could be like, "Hey, closed the deal," and they got a check and they're cheesing, but it's like, well, what did they do to get there?
for sure.
Right. And
And
so we can show people that like this is part of the process. And yes, we can do it. And yes, you can do it too.
that's exactly what I was just gonna say is that it's that proof of concept. So the nice thing that I like about this is that we could have put together a whole script. We could have put together on week one, we're gonna do this, week two, we're gonna do this. What we wanted to do instead, when Benson and I were talking about this, is really just kind of pull back the curtain. It's like we were just saying a minute ago about being able to have that proof of concept, but also if I could get up here and just show you guys that there's nothing special, I hope that inspires some of you guys to go out there and take action. So with us kind of doing this all natural, just on the fly, we want the only thing from you guys, and this is all that we ask. We're not trying to go and push anything other than obviously, yes, go get Privy if you don't have it, but also too, just go and make one phone call. Go out there and interact, engage. That's all we're asking for. We want to see you guys go out there and succeed because your success is our success. And that's how this ecosystem of real estate investing and entrepreneurs kind of merge together. So, what we're trying to do today is really just have a lot of engagement. We're going to answer a lot of questions. We're going to jump into Privy, make some calls for you guys. So, as usual, if this is your first time here, make sure you're interacting with other people in the comments. Let us know what market you guys want to see. I think that this is the coolest part of the show is that every week, if your comment gets picked, we are essentially going and building a list for properties to go and write offers on. One, two, we're building a buyer's list for you and with you. So I don't want to go in these other markets and try to take these relationships from you guys. I'm doing this live for a reason. If I wanted to go in there and just use Privy and try to build as many realtor relationships as possible nationwide, I would do it. But that's not the case. What we want to do instead is show you guys how you can get an hour every single week with Benson and myself 100% free. And more importantly, if this is your market, take action with the relationships that we're building for you. Where I was saying a minute ago about a lot of people commenting and DMing me saying, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I appreciate you, but I also want you to know, make sure that you're patting yourself on the back. Like what you guys are doing is taking action. And for example, a specific one, that Florida realtor that I talked to, this was probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, that has been the number one hit up realtor out of all of this so far, where that realtor has actually called me and said, hey, did you give out my number to like everybody? And I was like, well, in my defense, I asked you before if I could, and he said yes. So he is blown away by the amount of support and everything that you guys are doing. So all that said, let's make sure to get some action. Let's go ahead and get some calls made. And if you guys have any questions, let's work your market together. So in the comments, let us know what market you guys want to see today. And I hopefully stalled enough time.
There's a handful here that look interesting. The very first one was Jacksonville. That was from Eric.
Love
That's a
it.
decent market to look in. Someone else asked about Ohio. I think that Cleveland is pretty good investor activity. Atlanta is always good. So
Love
of
that.
those three, what would you want to pick?
Out of Atlanta, Jacksonville, what was the other one?
Cleveland?
Hmm. Jacksonville, Atlanta, or Cleveland. So I do a lot of deals in Atlanta and Jacksonville. So kind of just throw a little bit of a curveball in here and let's go ahead and let's do Cleveland.
Okay.
Let's do Cleveland. You want to share your screen today?
Yep.
Let's do it. Alrighty. And guys, again, this is an interactive show. So if you have questions pertaining to what we're doing, anything specific to the strategy, let us know. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions while we're doing this.
Cool.
Also, side note, while Benson's pulling it up, if anybody has buyers for multifamily, we have a 16 unit that we are looking to sell out in Tennessee. It's a smoking deal right next to a university. If you guys have some buyers, let me know. Make sure to DM me. I would love to JV the deal with you.
How much is it?
We are selling it for 2.5. Price is a little bit negotiable. It's around a 7.2 cap.
Will you do seller financing?
Not on this one particular. We're looking just for cash. We can do a financed offer. It would just need to have a little bit more down.
Got it. Cool. Well, you hear it, guys. He just brought you guys a multifamily off-market opportunity just because you were here.
Let's do it.
So, just kind of get people up to speed real quickly on Privy and what it is that we do if you haven't seen us before. So, Privy, it's a deal finding, analyzing, and tracking software, and it allows you to get access to direct to MLS data in over 90 markets. Wherever you see blue on the map is those direct to MLS markets. The pink ones are the ones we're working on, and we'll be launching soon. And then we do have data nationwide. So wherever you see, gray and yellow, that's basically the rest of the U.S. We have data for as well, and you can still operate in those markets. It just doesn't come directly from MLS. We call it either third-party listing data, or you can also use public record data in those areas. So you can pull lists of off-market leads like foreclosures, absentee owners, vacancies, tired landlords, zombie properties. Senior owners, just those are just to name a few. So we give you up to 10,000 downloads per month, just with your normal Privy account. And Privy is only $97 a month, but I do actually have a promo code I'm going to give you guys here in a moment, where you can go and you can get signed up, and we'll take 20% off your first month. Or if you sign up for the annual plan, we give you 30% off the annual and a bunch of other bonuses and training and goodies. But one of the things that is most important when you're looking for wholesale deals or fix and flips or anything, like, you don't have to wholesale for this strategy to be effective for you. We just talk about wholesale a lot because that's the easiest way to turn all the leads that we give you. Like, if you had to go and get every lead that we sent you and you had to go flip it or turn it into a rental, you'd run out of money real fast. So that's why wholesaling is such a powerful strategy, is because you can manage all the leads that we're going to send you. We're going to send you way more deals that you can do in a normal fashion by using this reverse REI strategy. Now, where you look for deals, I think, is one of the most important things that you should consider when you're looking for an effective strategy, is that all markets are not created equal. And right here at the top where it says fix and flip, if you click that button, this will plot on the map where all the fix and flips that have happened in the last 12 months. And we give you a visual way of understanding where that is. So it's not some bar graph, or it's not some spreadsheet that you have to use and make actionable. You literally just have to go to where the big blue blobs are located. So the bigger the blob, the higher the number, the more activity there is. So what that lends to say is that there's a lot of areas that you shouldn't be looking for deals. And you can see some of those are just obvious, like on the map, like Hays, Kansas. Like, if you live in Hays, Kansas, don't look for deals there, because you won't have buyers, you won't have the data to prove ARV, and it's going to just cause a lot of problems for yourself throughout the whole process of wholesaling. Like, finding buyers, number one, going in and being able to market a property and get the data that you need to be able to prove ARV, and then the final, like, disposition and getting an assignment fee, and then the buyer on the back end trying to get a house to appreciate when there's no comps. So that means that you should be looking in areas where there's high investor activity, and Cleveland happens to be one of those markets. So if we drill down into the Cleveland market by clicking the little icon there, it will zoom in, and it's showing you specifically certain neighborhoods you should look. It doesn't just go look for deals in Cleveland in general. It's, okay, look for deals in this neighborhood where the 149 is. Some of these other ones could be good too, but just for the sake of simplicity, go to where you have the biggest circle with the highest numbers.
And Benson, when you click on the blue fix and flip up at the top, when this all pulls up and we see the big blue blobs, is what we called it. Is this deals that are sold, or is this deals that are active? What exactly am I zooming in on right now?
Well, we call it investor activity. These
Okay.
are actual investors that have done deals. So in the world where we measure how good a deal is
Hmm.
based off of a percentage of after repair value, you have to have repaired properties to determine after repair value. And so that's why you don't look in Hayes, Kansas, because you need these flipped properties to be part of your data set so that if you find an opportunity, you could have the data to prove to your buyer and to yourself what that property's worth.
I
So
love it.
every one of these properties has two transactions. So here's the filter: 75% of the ARV or lower. So they bought it. The value of the property went up at least 25% in two transactions in an 18-month period. Now, will that bring properties in that maybe weren't renovated? Potentially, but it's still going to have kind of our criteria, right? Those two transactions and then went up in value. So if we open up one of these properties like this one right here, you can see here it kind of looks like it, from the exterior it was renovated. And because this property is actually in a direct to MLS data area, then we have like these rich photos, right? You're not going to get that from one of our competitors. Um, you have the MLS ID. You can see who the investor friendly agent is. Mary Haas is the agent on this. Right here, this blue tag tells you this came from MLS. Below that, you got the property remarks. If you're licensed, you can get access to agent and office information, as well as private remarks. The algorithm automatically comps the property out. So comping, and Ryan, I'd love to get your perspective on this. It's more of
For
an
sure.
art than it is a science, right? A lot of subtleties in it, but our comping algorithm is comping these properties out for you automatically in seconds rather than however long it takes people.
That is the first time I've actually heard that comparison. And like processing it, I actually think that's a beautiful way to put it. Like the art side of it is that it takes time. It takes like there's little things that you have to be able to pick up on. Like you can't compare a 2,000 square foot house to a 500 square foot house, but you get better as you do it. The science is that, in my understanding as to how I was taking it, is that the numbers are what they are, but at the end of the day, the art is the passion and then the process behind it. So I think spot on, great comparison. What I love about this, and just to make sure you guys are all following along here, the thing that we really love about the very first step here is that you're finding buyers. A lot of times where there's a lot of confusion and you're trying to get your first deal and still maybe even you've done a deal, but you're trying to understand the process fully. If you're going in and writing offers without having any kind of buyer relationships or the credibility to go and purchase these properties, then you're lying. That's not how this process is. What we're doing here is what Benson's referring to with the reverse REI strategy, where we can use a software like Privy to actually see the deals in like high investor activity areas to be able to pinpoint and say, this is the specific buyer that I want to work with, or this is the specific agent that works with all these buyers that I want to work with. So we're trying to find a buyer first to give ourselves a little more confidence, and then also the reassurance that there's deals going on and this person's interested in buying another property.
Yep. And the buyer on this one was Sarah Gay. So Sarah is the one that flipped this house. She bought
Beautiful.
it back here in March, and she went and renovated it, listed it for 125, and it looks like then it went pending, and then now it's sold. So it's sold just a couple days ago, or however long it was. Here's the status: 417.
Beautiful.
So they were in and out of that thing fairly quickly, which is
Did they
cool.
buy that in 22 or 23? I think they bought it in 22.
Oh, it is 22.
Yeah, because that was
Yeah.
the one thing. My first like instinct that I saw was, "Oof, man, she had that for a year." But then I was also like, "Well, if the market went down or cost of material went up, we don't know the full story." The point is that we can see that she did buy it for 38.5. Now, I'm not good at math here, but 38.5, if she got hard money or whatever she got to make those payments, it can't be that much money every month. So what she did sell it for, what we can see is that she did have a healthy margin. What we don't know is what the cost of the renovation was, what her cost of holding costs, how much she paid a realtor to sell it. There's a lot of
Hmm.
miscellaneous. So we can put together the pieces of saying, okay, here she bought it for 38,000, she sold it for 125, she bought it at 31% of the ARV. We can see how much gross profit she made, which is that 86.5.
Yep.
86.5 is gross profit, not her net number. But if we can run our numbers knowing that she's willing to purchase another property, that gives us the confidence when going and trying to find a property for our buyer. In this case, it would be for Sarah.
Yep. And so this one, again, we don't know the final number, and nobody does, by the way. This isn't some hole in Privy's data. There's just no place to find what Sarah spent on this publicly. It's not available anywhere. That's on her own books.
Hmm.
So, it is sometimes a good exercise to go and estimate it. Like if you're trying to figure out how to run your numbers, like take these closed deals and say, like, you know what, this kind of property would be like $30 a square foot. Multiply that by 2,200,
And
and
that's
then
actually a pretty big house out there too. I mean, to sell for that kind of price point, like that's not bad.
yeah, I mean, think about, I mean, this being a rental. Like, and actually,
Hmm.
it was a rental. They bought it from a landlord first,
Hmm.
right? And so now that it's been fixed up, well, now you just bump the rents up, and
So, and Benson, even so, running your numbers like you had just said off of $30 a square foot, which I'm gonna assume is probably a fair number to go off of, being it's Midwest, smaller town.
yeah,
Uh, that's $66,000. So even if we want to run our formula here just off of like what we do with the 93%, we're at $66,000 in reno. So if I were to say 125 is our ARV times by 0.93, we're at 116,250. Now minus off $66,000, we're at 50,250. Good rule of thumb is now factoring in the profit margin from our buyer, which is 10% of ARV typically. 10% of ARV I think is extremely low in this case, which is 12.5 because it's 125,000. So I'd more realistically bump that to $15,000 to $20,000 profit. So just for humoring here, if we were to say it's a minus $15,000 profit, we are at 35,250. She paid 38,000. So if you're trying to run your numbers and understand how they got to it, ARV 125 times by 0.93 minus 66,000 in reno minus 10% of ARV, which would be in this case, let's just round up to 15,000. That brings us to a $35,250 buy price. Now, if you even want to make this even more funny, Benson, let's run it based off of the exact formula we use, and let's do it on the calculator if you don't mind, so everybody can follow along.
yeah.
So, and again, guys, I'm trying to do this like as slow as possible for you so you can understand what our formula is. So if we have ARV at 125, timesing it by 0.93 is 7%. That is 5% in commission, 2% in closing costs and holding costs. We're also factoring in that a good real estate investor has an investor-friendly realtor where they're not paying a full 5%. They're probably going to pay a 1% to the listing agent, 2.5% to the buyer's agent. So that's 3.5% of our 7. So if we say the remaining, let's say 1.5% is holding costs, we're over at 5%. The 2% remaining is going to be for, let's just say closing costs. So if we're at 0.93, we're at 116,250. If we were to go off of the price per square foot, just saying $30 a square foot is 66.3, we're going to take off just 66,000.
And $30 a square foot actually might be high for this area,
Right.
but
Right. For sure. So we're at 5250. Now, remember, I said 10% of ARV. So if we're at 125, 10% is minus $12,500 in profit. I just wanted to see how close it is to her buy number. 37,750. She bought it for 38,000. So that's about as accurate as it comes down to with this formula. If you guys are watching this, make sure you watch the replay, take a screenshot of that screen so you can see what our formula is. These are numbers that you literally can't make up. So when you're trying to figure out how do I wholesale, how does this work? It's all in the numbers. This is the part where maybe a challenge to that analogy is this is the science. This is just, it is what it is. You can't make this up. You can't make up the cost of repairs. And if you are, guess what? That's called taking shortcuts. Taking shortcuts is not how you go and do flips. I've seen it done before. It's not the way to do it. That's where lawsuits happen. That's where also too, just for pride purposes, this is people's homes. So even if it's for you not flipping it and you're trying to sell it to a flipper, be mindful that if you're going to go and make the deal as thin as possible, you're also hurting that community because they won't be able to do the extent of what the house needs in full renovation costs. So the numbers are what they are. That was a perfect example too, where we can actually break down to see exactly how she got to that number. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was something along these lines, not just a 70% minus repairs formula that she went off of. So if you can understand where they're coming from, the next process here, the only other thing I would add in, how much money do you want to make? If you found this property at 25,000, congrats. You made $12,000, $13,000 in an assignment. If you found this thing at 35,000, you probably made $1,000 or $2,000. Now, it's all just relative to what your buyer is willing to pay, which is why it's important to continuously be building your buyer's list. But if you can understand what we're doing here, reverse engineering this process, it actually starts to make sense when you go in, you start looking at properties now. These right here, by the way, before we jump into the next part, this right here is all buyer relationships that you should be contacting. Regardless if you think that this house was remodeled to what you like or what you don't like, this is a buyer or an agent that has the buyer relationship that could go and make you an extra 6 figures a year. So just pick up the phone, call them, talk about the house. We see this one was bought on the MLS and they renovated it. That's awesome. Did you help them buy the property? Oh, you did. Sounds good. Well, maybe we should just call this agent and show them how the combo works. What do you think,
Let's
Benson?
do it. That's Stacy Collins of AYS Realty.
Stacy Collins.
STACY.
And what was the brokerage?
AYS Realty.
Stacy's mom's got it going on. She's got our deals for us. Let's go.
Yep, she's the agent. So why are we calling the agent? Why aren't we calling the buyer?
Oh, I'm glad we brought that up. This is a new book that was just recommended to me by Steve Harward with Prime Corporate Services, but this is exactly what we're doing. We are doing one too many. This is what I refer to with the strategy of the one-to-many approach, where what we're trying to do is go to one real estate agent that is going to have multiple investor clients. Now, just to be very transparent with you guys, I'm lazy. That's what this is. I'm trying to go and find an agent that could do most of the work for me with full understanding that I'm going to have to give them either a commission or part of my assignment fee. The reason I want to do that is because at the end of the day, what I always say is the hardest part of being the realtor is to find the client. So if they've already built and established that relationship with that person, do you think that you're going to call the person that's running 20 flips right now and they're going to answer their phone and say, "This is Dave"? Oh, no, I'm not busy at all. Tell me what properties you are potentially going to lock up and sell to me with first dibs. Tell me all. They're not going to be like that. If you could call the realtor and they're like, "Oh yeah, so and so's LLC," they're going to try to like hold back the information, which is cool. But then they're going to end up passing along the details of the deal along to their clients if it's something they'd be interested in. Now, how do we know if it's something they'd be interested in? If only we were using a software that showed us exactly what their client just bought and sold and all of the information about that deal. That's exactly what we're doing right now. I'm looking
If
through all the
only.
information from what the property address is to the condition of before and after, if I can see it, to how many bedrooms, bathrooms, square feet, to my comparable properties, down to even the tax records and seeing what person bought it or what entity bought it and what they bought it for and sold it for. That's what we're doing. We're doing some market research. We're trying to build a buyer's list. So I'm going to call the agent with the understanding that while this is my one buyer that I'm looking to build a relationship with, if it's not this one, the odds of her or him having another buyer is actually pretty high. Remembering that while they are looking for clients day in and day out, the only time you ever run into an issue here is when the agent is either retired or dead, or they say, "I don't work with investors." That is the only two flaws that I've found with going and trying to reverse engineer through real estate agents to find buyers. So if they, for whatever reason, say they don't work with investors, you don't want to work with that realtor anyway. If they are retired out of the industry, you guys can go back and watch some replays where I actually get the agents on the phone to tell me, "Well, okay, I know you're retired." Almost sound like they feel bad for me. And they're saying, "Well, let me connect you with so-and-so that I worked with for years. They will probably know somebody." That's the not leaving any stone left unturned, which is exactly what I like to go with the agent approach rather than direct to the buyer. All that said, disclaimer wise, you can go to the buyer. You just probably have to spend some money skip tracing. You're going to have to spend some effort and energy into really trying to find value to bring to that relationship. And then when you get on the phone with the buyer, whether or not they like you or not, you have to bring value through a deal, through something along the lines of providing work for them or service, something to where you can justify taking an extra 20, 30 minutes of their time. That's it.
Yep.
Okay.
Did you find Stacy's info?
I did. Stacy
Okay.
Collins with AYS Realty. She has some buyers. And here's the cool thing too, is that this is something that I teach a lot in agent investors, that is situational awareness. It's really, really hard to teach it. It's a lot easier to show it. And stuff like this, where while I'm calling to try to build the relationship for a buyer, I'm willing to pivot at any time to make the understanding to her that I'm looking for more deals myself. So if she finds something, can we work together? So even just to show you guys that there really is no right or wrong way to do this, I'm actually going to do this backwards just to show you guys flexibility of these conversations. I'm going to call and I'm going to say, "I'm looking for deals. I see you just sold this one on Finer Drive. Do you have anything else available?" So while we're trying to build a buyer's list, I'm going to go in with the approach first for the deal, pivot to at the end saying, "By the way, your buyer that just did this, are they looking for more deals? Because if they are, let's wholesale together." So let's jump into it.
Thank you for calling AYS Realty. If you're a resident calling about a fire or life-threatening emergency,
What?
please hang up and call 911.
Why is that a
If you're
part of your...
calling for information about renting or leasing,
What?
please visit our website at aysohio.com for more details. Please listen to the following options. If you need assistance with buying or selling real estate,
This ain't
press
it.
1.
That's the office line.
That's, yeah, I was just say this ain't it. And what kind of office line would ever put in there if this is an emergency or a fire? How many fires do they get out in Bedford, Ohio?
They probably do property management as well.
Okay. And I guess it's not the first time that they're getting called for fire.
Yeah.
Benson, I see a few numbers that look like they're like kind of blocked off a little bit. Do you happen to have it?
Let me see if I can find it.
I don't know if you want to text it or to me or how we want to go with that, but I think there's some value in this conversation. And again, guys, what we're looking for here is conversations. Part of our KPIs every day is that we want to go in and have at least 50. This is part of my 50. Now, I'm not going to count that as a convo because I didn't have the conversation with them. This was an attempted conversation, even though it went to the office line.
Yeah, the listing agent has 844 over everything here.
Yeah, that's what it looks like that I'm seeing too. Which, guys, also, this is a learning lesson. Not that there's anything wrong with what she's doing here personally. It's just that, to me, don't be a secret agent. Remembering that the hardest part of their job is to find a client. What I'm trying to do right here, which, I mean, it might be worth just calling that number back, Benson, and see if I can get a hold of her. I'm going to go for it. But the whole goal here is that they need to be able to find clients and be accessible. So let's let this ring. I'm going to let it go through its like menu thing. Our whole goal here is to show you guys how the conversations are. And also too, I'm just going with it. I'm not trying to show you a script. I'm not trying to show you that it has to be this specific way. I'm trying to show you that you can just pick up the phone and call a realtor and they should be pretty friendly.
If you need assistance with buying or selling real estate, press 1.
Press 1. I need help with buying or selling real estate.
We would love to assist you with your real estate needs. At the tone, please leave a detailed message.
God.
Oh, come on, Daisy.
Anyway, it's done, Benson. They said leave us a detailed message, guys. If your brokerage is doing that, I'm sorry, that is not the move. That just costed them opportunities and money.
Yeah. I'm just looking real quickly here to see if there's anything else.
Okay, no worries. And in the meantime, I'll read this one. Lamars said, "Hey, Ryan, I have an offer almost accepted, but they want me to put up non-refundable earnest money prior to contract instead of after the inspection period. Any suggestions on how to navigate?" It's a great question. So a lot of times, and this is kind of unfortunate because this is where I think the wholesale side of things kind of overdid some of the bad tactics and bad strategies. Not that they were taught that, it's just that you don't know what you don't know. And so when you go out there and just start messing around with the strategies, it kind of puts a bad taste in realtors' mouth that are familiar with wholesaling but have a bad experience. So in this case, what you have to do, and I mean this in the most wholehearted way, they have to trust you. So you have to be honest with yourself and be like, do I have a good likelihood of being able to sell this deal? If you do, the non-refundable earnest money might be something that you would consider doing if you already had a buyer lined up. This is where you want to qualify out your buyers, have people in your corner that you could trust, find the buyers on Privy, but also to understand that they're not unjustified asking for that. You can go in, you could play the game and say, oh, well, I need to do my inspections, my due diligence, do this. What I would tell you is if you're in a position where you don't have a buyer lined up or you're not confident in the deal, walk away from it. Because if they don't have any other offers on the table, they don't get the beauty of saying, yeah, this is how it's going to have to be. So what you can do is maybe put up, instead of it being after the inspection period, it'll be 3 days after acceptance. This big 16 unit I just did, we have a 7-day inspection or a 30-day inspection. I'm sorry, 7 days to be able to get our earnest money in. So our 7 days to get our earnest money in isn't after my inspection period, but it just gives me enough time to where I can get some feedback from buyers and still back out, no harm, no foul. Now, that's obviously worst case scenario. I don't like advertise to go and get properties under contract to go cancel them, but this is why we're doing what we're doing right now. You could have buyers lined up first. It makes this question a lot easier to handle because you'll have somebody in your corner that can put up the earnest money for you. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yep. So I'm looking for another person here we can call. I found Thomas.
Cool. Thomas, what is that last name?
Can you see it? It's GARUCCIO with Remax.
Cool. He popped up. I got him.
Yeah,
Tom's
this one's an interesting one. Like, this was an on-market deal. They got it at 64% of the ARV, but this is like a turn and burn. Like, they were just seriously like in and out of this thing so fast. Barely did anything to it. Left the floors the same. They just painted it.
Beautiful. So again, I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach. Typically, we're going to make these conversations happen by saying, hey, what's up? My name is Ryan. I see you just sold 3792 East 149th Street. Beautiful home. Love the remodel. Love everything you did. By any chance, is that client looking to buy some more properties? Their next question, their guard kind of goes up. So the reason I want to show you guys some of the different approaches is because while their guard goes up, that's what our intention is to get the buyer's information, not like their contact information, but their buy box. We're looking for what their buyers are looking for. So if they're going to be like, ooh, I don't know about this, the other approach is the one I'm about to do. I'm going to say, hey, what's up, Thomas? My name is Ryan. Calling about some properties out in Ohio. I'm trying to find a realtor that can help me out. I am honestly trying to just do this a little bit differently, and I'll just show you guys how to roll. Let's do it.
Let's try it.
This number is protected by Haya and screened for unknown callers. Please state your name and the purpose of your call, and we will try to connect you.
Ryan trying to buy real
Sorry,
estate.
didn't get that.
All right, let's go with it. And Lamar, yep, two wholesalers messed up before you came.
Thomas.
It happens. Tom Garuccio.
Let's go, Tommy.
Right? Come on, it's 2:30 out there on a Wednesday. We got to be making some money.
The subscriber you're trying to reach is unavailable.
So I'm sending him a text.
So guys, this is all part of the process. You're not going to reach the person you want to speak to all the time. So you got to make sure you're organizing these things in a place. Maybe it's a spreadsheet, or if you have a CRM. But it isn't just one call and be done. Like, they need to go someplace. That way you can do a follow-up message and take them through a funnel.
Correct. And also, again, this is probably very bad advice that I'm about to give here, but this is how I started. Spreadsheets, notebook, cell phone. That's how I got started. So while we can sit up here and talk about all the best CRMs and systems and processes, what it comes down to really just is action and consistency. And I don't mean that to come across disrespectful or aggressive or anything. It's just a lot of times we're too busy studying. I understand there's a lot of scarcity, but what you need to do is get yourself out of the comfort zone. Understand that studying and just spending all this time trying to perfect your system and your logos and whatever it is that's holding you back from actually this, that's the difference maker. And there's a video I was watching the other day that was like, what was the best advice that you've ever received? And it was one of my favorite rappers, Russ, that was talking about it. And he said, what if it turned out greater than you could have ever imagined? And the worst advice he ever received was be realistic. So I'm not going to get up here and tell you to be realistic. You have full control and power to do whatever you want to do. If you want to make one phone call a day, make one phone call a day. Don't be surprised when the results aren't showing. But if you go and you make 30 calls a day, this is where Ed Milet does amazing. The power of one more. That one extra call, you do that day and day and day. I promise you, the expectation is going to be that you're going to get a deal. So the advice that Russ had said about what if it turned out greater than you could ever imagine? How many of us here have vision boards? How many of us here have dreams and goals and visions? I'm assuming all of us. That's why we're here watching this live or watching the replay. But the next piece to it is that if you can't visualize it and you don't believe you deserve it, now just imagine if you had all those things going for you and it turned out even better than what you imagined. That's what should be instilling so much fire under you to get you going and make you want to make these calls. This guy, Tom, I'm texting right now. I'm trying to talk to you guys, and I don't know. I'm just going to text like, hey, Tom, my name is Ryan, trying to find a realtor in Ohio. Can we chat? I'm based in AZ, looking to buy sooner rather than later. That wasn't a, hey, are you still a realtor in Ohio? I'm an investor looking to give you 10% on ARV offers. Like, no, we're going out there saying, hey, I'm a real person. Here's where I'm at. Here's what I'm doing. I also put a little more detail because he's got the FBI freaking buffering between the general public and his phone number. But like, guys, like this is the kind of stuff that we're actually doing. Benson said it perfectly. This is the work. These are the conversations. The next piece is, how do I keep track of this? I put Tom in a spreadsheet, first, last name, phone number, email address, date I contacted him, and then I put a follow-up date for 2 days out. That's how you get started. Now at a point where, let's say we had 30 of these conversations in a day and I submitted a few offers, in 2 days, I have 30 realtors to contact again on top of the 30 that I'm contacting that day. You do this enough, it's called compounding. That's where this starts to connect. You start having these pieces all fall in place. But more importantly, this is where you get the one realtor that calls you up one day that's like, hey, I got the perfect opportunity. I wanted to talk to you because you were following up with them, because you had just a system, even if it's a spreadsheet telling you when you last talked to somebody and when you need to talk to them again. The reason I say a spreadsheet and phone and notebook with all this like enthusiasm and passion is because I want you guys just to go and take action. The spreadsheet side of things is 100% free. Picking up the phone, making calls is 100% free. If the only thing that I'm telling you right now to get in your business, to get started with talking to realtors is Privy, the investment that I'm telling you to go make in yourself that could go make you $100,000 a year is $97 a month. I'm not even talking $100 a month. $97 a month, one system, a spreadsheet, a notebook, and a cell phone. Whatever your phone bill is what you're paying, plus Privy. That's it. Don't buy my course. Don't buy any other courses. Don't invest into any mastermind or event or whatever thing to feel good. Go out there and get Privy, start making phone calls, and make mistakes. Bring your questions to these right here. Bring your questions and your situations like Lamar just did, where he said, I had this specific scenario that just happened. What did I do wrong? I had no understanding of that situation. I could break down right then and there what the realtor was thinking. That is the one thing that you guys have as an advantage here in these calls every single week, is that you have a guy like Benson that has this system understood inside and out. And you've got a guy like me that uses the system and also has done this strategy inside and out. So together with all of us, I think we could probably agree that if we put our heads together and made some calls together and you guys took these relationships that we're giving to you guys, I think we could all agree we could probably do one deal a month together. Every single one of us. That's it. That was my mic drop. What's up?
Well, with that being said, I decided to shift to Jacksonville.
Okay.
Cleveland frustrated me. So I decided to poke our heads in here to Jacksonville. And this is the hot pocket in Jacksonville right here. Lots of activity. This is where you should be searching for deals. If you are marketing, and I wouldn't suggest you market right out of the gates unless you're experienced, this is where you're going to send your mailers. This is where you're going to pull lists of foreclosures. This is where you're going to, pull lists of absentee owners. Like, you can basically just do that right inside of Privy. Again, we give you over 10,000, or give you 10,000 per month. But this is how you get up to speed on what a deal is, because a deal in Jacksonville is not the same thing as what a deal is in Cleveland. And so this one right here was actually just closed, and it was an on-market deal. It was something that somebody got from the MLS. They bought it for 120, sold it for 210. There was 57% of the ARV. And the flipper on that, or the buyer, was this company, Adams Custom Interiors LLC. So could you go to them directly? You could. You could absolutely just right-click that, search Google, and you could build those one-on-one relationships. However, you can do the one-to-many too, right? The one-to-many, I think Ryan's approach, he's proven it time and time again that it works. So, and again, too, like you mentioned earlier, you have these buyers that are probably have a hammer in their hand when you're calling them. So agents, you'd think, would pick up the phone. Maybe the agents are hammering too, but I'm not really quite sure why they're not picking up the phone. But this is the work.
So let's pull up the calculator too. I like how we did that last time where we could show everybody how to run the numbers. I really encourage you guys, and I don't know how we didn't think of this before. This is a brilliant thing to do just to help yourself. Like, this is understanding. If you can take sold comps, you want to learn how to comp properties. Look at what somebody bought and sold it for. So 210 times by 0.93. Now, I did $35 a square foot, and it was like a 900 square foot house, I believe, right?
Yeah.
What I did there, what was it? 996?
Mm-hmm.
So I did 996 times by 35. It came out to about 34,000. If I ran it at $40 a square foot times by 990, We're at 39,000. But now what I will say here is just making a mental note through experience, seeing the exterior, seeing all these things going on that look like big ticket items, I just would say to add an extra 10, 15K. So even if we want to just call it $50 a square foot or even just $55,000 in reno, I think that's a safe number as to how I'd run my numbers on this one. So if we do 210 times by 0.93 minus $55,000 in reno minus 10% of ARV, which is $21,000. What did they buy it for?
$700 less than what, or more than what we just came up with.
That's how you run your numbers. And I'm not trying to get up here and just beat it in your head, but I want you guys to understand that the numbers are what they are. So guess what? If this person bought it, fixed it up, and flipped it, they factored in everything that I just did to get to the T. I'm off by $700. Okay. $700 we're off by. That's how they got their formula. The difference is whatever you got it below 120 is what you would make as the wholesaler. So if you're fixing flippers, if you're someone trying to go in and just understand how to do this and you're trying to find buyers, challenge yourself and run the formula. ARV times 0.93 minus the cost of the renovation minus the profit from the end buyer, which is typically 10% of ARV, minus by your wholesale fee is the maximum that you can pay on this property.
Yep. It's that simple. And we have the examples right here. Like every one of these houses that closed, you guys, each one of those is a lesson in itself. So don't just get so focused on lead gen without doing your local market research. Like become that local market expert by just researching the last 10 to 20 properties and then set up the filter to send you updates. So you want the filter and you can come down here and click save. And then this will send you updates every time there's another sold flip. Like make sure you're monitoring that, because in a shifting market, what a deal was today, or I'm sorry, what a deal was a month ago, isn't the same thing as what its deal is today. It changes. And so that there's no better way to get that education and get that local market insight than to get that from Privy in this manner. Now the agent on this one, Ryan, is let's see, Tiana Unique Curry Adams.
Wow,
So Tiana
sounds like
Unique
a deal maker to me.
is I think that's the name of the brokerage, and then Curry Adams is the agent.
Okay, let's go for it. So Unique.
That's an interesting name.
No, that's definitely her full name. I love it. Let's go. Tiana Adams. She's gonna bring us a deal. Sorry, my computer's loading super slow. There it is. All right. You guys ready? Let's do this. What's the address? 5056. Okay.
5056 Sutherland Road. On market deal.
On market deal, they bought and sold, and this was the one that was at 119, 120-ish. Okay.
Yep.
Hello. Please state your name after the tone, and Google Voice will try to connect you.
Ryan. Now, I'm about to use a script that every single one of us should be using too. It doesn't matter if you're licensed or not. I'll show you guys just a variation. Take it, put your own twist on it, but it's something that will be universal. Assuming she answers. Might have spoke too soon.
The Google subscriber you have called is not available.
I'm calling her again.
Double dial.
Hello. Please state your name after the tone, and Google Voice will try to connect you.
Ryan. Maybe today's lesson is just that realtors don't answer. I don't know.
I think the lesson would be like, it's usually not going to work out the way you think it is. So don't give up.
For sure. For sure. Also, too, if she doesn't answer, I'm just going to read out to you guys how I would plan this conversation. Okay. So first off, the first conversation that we usually do on these calls is typically, hey, my name is Ryan. I'm an investor out in Arizona. Market is crazy. I'm looking out in whatever other market we're looking at today. The reason I'm calling is because it looks like your client went and bought and flipped this. It looks absolutely beautiful. Just curious, are they looking to buy more properties? Kind of conversation starter, breaks the ice. We just want to see the flow of how it goes. The one I was going to do today is a little bit different where I was going to say, hey, what's up, Tiana? My name is Ryan. I'm calling because honestly, I'm trying to do things a little bit different. I'm trying to find a realtor that can help me out. I found a property that looks like you represented an investor. I can't really tell the information, but I just want to introduce myself and see, do you have any other opportunities like that property that I could buy too? I would love to be on your list. So now I'm introducing myself saying I want her to bring me properties and I want to be her client. So now I'm kind of reversing the process where it's not her looking for clients, which is the hardest part of their job. I'm going to her and saying, what's up? I love you. Help me out. That's it. Now, the next piece to it is that where I could pivot in that conversation, setting myself up would be, oh, okay, well, you don't have anything available. No worries. I'm constantly trying to find just deals. That's why I'm making calls even like this to you. Just curious. I mean, the property that you sold, it was flipped. It was an investor, right? Oh, it was? Okay, cool. Well, just curious then, are they looking to buy more? Because if I find a lot of properties that are sent over my way that just don't make sense, would you be cool if I were to throw that over to you and maybe we could joint venture that deal and maybe assign it or make a commission together, working and selling that to your buyers? She would have no reason to say no, because if I'm bringing the deal to the table, she has the client, which is the hardest part of her job. I have the deal, which is the hardest part of her client being an investor's job. So if I could bring a piece of the pie to the table, well, guess what? We're all going to eat. That's how this is going to be. So that's the philosophy of how I want you guys to think about things differently. And also, too, just challenging yourself aside from running the numbers, pivoting conversations. No conversation with an agent outside of them being retired or dead or them not working with investors. That should be the only time that you have bad conversations with realtors. With that, I mean, if you're lowballing the crap out of a bunch of them that have listings, it's a different combo. Cold outreach and doing what we're doing here, the conversation should flow pretty naturally.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got 10 more minutes. You want to try to get one more person on the line?
Let's do it.
Let's try this one here. This was another deal that just closed. It was purchased for $315, sold for $540.
Okay.
They got it at 58% of the ARV from the MLS.
Uh-huh.
Here's the before photos and the
Oh,
after.
beautiful. Nice and
This
homey.
came out nice, right? Pretty good. This was sold by Cindy Lynn K.
Cindy Lynn K.
Lynn.
Do we know what the brokerage is?
We don't.
Okay. The first one that pulls up is definitely not her. What does it say at the top there?
We don't have a brokerage. What do you mean?
Gotcha. Cindy Lynn K. All right, so let's go ahead and just type in that address then. So I'm going to go 1373 Dancy Street.
Dancy. That's a good word. I'm feeling dancy today.
Dancy. So I'm looking on compass.com because that is the brokerage that it looks like when I type in that address. The problem is the agent's info is not there. So let's take another look at this site.
Another secret agent.
That's all good. Honestly, there it is. Never a doubt. Zillow.com had it. I'll repeat the formula here in just a minute for everyone. I see all the comments.
Come on, Cindy.
Oh, man. It's enough to, like, I'm not going to lie, like, you want to keep abundant mentality, but like we're like 0 for 5. So
0
it's
for
like,
5. That's the first time that's ever happened to us.
yeah, it's all good.
Hello?
Watch this. Hey, is this Cindy?
Yeah.
Hey, Cindy. My name's Ryan. I'll keep it really short and simple. I'm sure you're super busy. I'm just calling about a property I think you sold out on Dancy Street.
Yeah.
I'm an investor and I think that house is absolutely beautiful. I was wondering if you have anything else available that needs to be renovated. I'm looking to buy a property like ASAP, and I've been trying to find a realtor out in Florida that could help me out, but honestly just haven't had too much success. So I figured I'd kind of like reverse engineer the process and find some properties that were flipped. And you're the first person that just answered the phone.
Okay. So I mean, I actually flipped it myself.
Boom. Watch this.
So, and I did not do well on that house because I bought it at the height of the market. So,
Gotcha.
And I ended up doing a lot to it.
Sure.
Basically broke even on that house.
Gotcha.
Which is the first time. I've been doing this for 30 years, and it's the first time that happened. But
Sure.
can't control the market.
No worries. Well, I mean, I've got that 480 area code, so I'm out in Arizona. We kind of got stuck in the same boat last year. We bought a bunch at the peak of the market, and honestly, it wiped out a lot of people I saw in the industry. And we were fortunate that it didn't wipe us out, but we definitely took some hits on some pay. So that's kind of why we're looking elsewhere.
Yeah, like I said, I'm very happy I broke even.
Sure.
Because I know people that it's like, okay, it was just work, that's all. Work for free, but that's okay.
Right. So you're flipping then. Are you trying to buy more properties? Like, are you getting them from the MLS, or how are you sourcing your properties?
So I actually got that one from the MLS.
She didn't answer her phone the first time. Now we're talking. What a nice little lovely conversation.
On the market. I bought it in July of last year when everything was still really crazy. And it had sat for a year. And
wow.
It was because it was so fakaked that anybody that looked at it could not figure out what to do with it. And that's kind of my specialty, is figuring out what to do with it. But that's also why in this case, like I bought it with the idea like, okay, the market's crazy, and if I really deck this thing out and really make it look good, fix the floor plan, because that was the problem, I can do really well on this. And so I went at it with the idea of where the market was, but then everything cost more. Everything was insane. It was just insane.
For sure.
Like, yeah. And when they, unfortunately or fortunately,
guys, she didn't even answer the phone.
Through the 80s, when the interest rate
now we're talking. Like, this is just
16%. And so to me, I was like, okay, no big deal. Like, it's just 5%, people.
Right.
Right. But the youth of today has never seen anything like that. They've been getting free money, because when you're getting money at 3%, it's basically free money.
Absolutely.
And, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they didn't. Everybody freaked out. No one was buying. I've never had a house sit that long either.
For sure. So are you still flipping then, or are you kind of taking your foot off the gas?
So I'm kind of waiting to see what happened. I just closed on that one, but I bought that.
The keynote I want everybody to take away is just.
I bought that from Open Door. That was one of the many houses that Open Door bought and
just couldn't sell.
Resell.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because they bought them without looking at them.
So if you guys notice, all I'm doing is asking questions to keep the conversation going. Gotcha. Well, I mean, I didn't even realize that Open Door was out there too. They took a crazy hit out here in Arizona, where we could basically just name our price, where even right now they're trying to offload a lot of properties, and we can get some pretty good deals. The problem is that if they did any remodel or any kind of like touch up, it just wasn't really done with quality. So we typically have to go in and kind of like mask over what the lipstick on a pig was. So
yeah. Well, that was the problem with this house, because they painted the outside, didn't address any of the WDO, didn't address any of the exterior issues whatsoever, replaced the air conditioning, and that's it. That's all they did. Oh, they didn't even paint the rooms.
Wow.
That was it. So I was lucky because I had a new air conditioning unit. And when I got it, we figured out really quickly that a squatter had been living there. He was storing all his stuff.
Another lesson here. Nothing wrong with agents that want to talk. This is awesome. She went from not answering the phone to now she won't stop talking on the phone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how you can quicken up the conversation, but still provide the value.
So, I mean,
Gotcha.
Clearly their model was not a really good business model.
For sure.
A bunch of
well, and I think
let's
that
buy property sight unseen. I mean, people
right.
do it all the time, but
Right.
not like that.
Gotcha. Well, so it sounds to me like you're on the sideline then a little bit, which completely understand.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's still, do you think there's still like investors out in that kind of area, or do you think I'm looking in the wrong side of town?
Well, like if you want wholesalers, there's a million of them here, a million, because every investor magazine for the last 5 to 10 years, I've actually been doing this here in Jacksonville for 30 years.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it used to be I could just like get a house, like all of this, you know. Unfortunately, HGTV killed it for me because everybody thinks they can flip a house now.
For sure. No, you're spot on. And also, I mean, wholesaling too. I think that there needs to be a lot of regulation behind it. I mean, full transparency, we've done wholesaling and it's definitely one of our exit strategies, but where I think it kind of gets lost in the sauce a little bit is that the expectations aren't set accordingly. So I think that the value behind wholesalers is probably one of the best things in the entire world, especially if you're a fix and flipper.
The numbers aren't right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Years ago, you would buy a wholesale house. I used to do it all the time. And the wholesaler would ask me for $5,000. And I'd be like, okay. And they'd be like upfront about it.
Yep.
Like, here's what I'm going to make $5,000. Now I get email after email. I'm on everybody's list. And, I look at them and I'm like, okay, I love when they go, okay, you can purchase this for $121, just let's say, and the ARV is $165. Well, thanks.
Right. There's no money in that to be made, and that's where.
Like, what are you doing? Do you not understand your business?
And it's pretty rare that we talk to realtors too that also specialize in the investment side. It's kind of a breath of fresh air because I think that we understand each other's worlds pretty well. So, is there anything that I could do to bring some value to you? Are you looking for, like, if I found like a smoking hot deal, would you want to possibly partner up on that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm always open to stuff like, I never say no.
Awesome.
I'm just like right now I have, my daughter's getting married at the end of this month. So, and I just closed on that Dancy house last week.
Awesome.
So I'm just like, you know what? I'm taking the month off. Taking the month of May off and just gonna enjoy the whole family situation and then figure it out.
For sure. Well, awesome. Well, you know what? I'll just put a note down that I'll reach out to you in a few weeks, and then I hope you have a great time at your daughter's wedding. And I'll be on the lookout for some deals. And if there's anything I come across that I'll just let you know.
I'm looking for a rental because that's another thing I do is I buy and hold. So I've got some Airbnbs, and I have one that I do travel nurse housing. So
awesome. Well, so I will keep you posted, and I will be in touch. And then I appreciate you again. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat today.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, Jacksonville, Florida. If you are not working with this girl, I promise you, she literally just said at the end, that was one of the best things of the entire call. I'm also looking for a rental. I buy and hold. Who pays the most next to primary home buyers? It's going to be buy and hold investors.
Yep.
She fix and flips. She buys and hold. She's taking a month off because she just got burned. So you don't think if you brought a smoking deal where she could make some money on it, she'd be somebody that's willing to put up non-refundable earnest money? She said wholesalers used to be very transparent on what they were making. That sounds to me like all she wants to know is transparency and communication.
Yep.
That's it. I love it.
Well, everybody, thanks for coming today. We appreciate it. We're going to put it here in the chat, the ability to go ahead and get your own Privy account. You're going to use that promo code there.
Love it.
And if you got questions, let us know. But I do have to take off, Ryan.
No worries, Benson. I appreciate you. I will see you next week. I will run through the formula one last time with everybody. Benson, I got to hop, and then I'll see you next week.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.
See you, Benson. All right, guys, we'll run an extra couple of minutes here, and I'll go through the formula with you guys one more time. Just as a recap, too, the numbers I'm going through, while I want to say it's like all hypothetical and just guessing, there is a science behind this piece where you have to know the cost per square foot. If you can understand the cost per square foot in the renovation, it's just the square footage of the house. So like a 2,000 square foot house, Obviously, if it's a full teardown, you're not going to go off 35, 40 bucks a square foot. So what you have to do is just be mindful. And this is the situational awareness that I try to preach as much as possible. But all of the sake of the examples we went through today with Privy, start off by looking at the sold deals and run your own numbers. It's after repair value times by 93%, minus by the repairs of the property, minus by the profit of the investor, whoever the flipper is, or the buy and hold investor, whoever it is that needs to make profit at the end, minus your fee. So just for the sake of an example too, I saw this comment pop up on the YouTube channel yesterday, but let's go through just the sake of an example. Let's say it's 250 ARV. 250 ARV, and let's say the house is 1,500 square feet. The first number I'm going to run is the price per square foot times by the square footage of the house. So if I'm going to say a 1,500 square foot house, let's just say it was a $40 a square foot remodel. That is a $60,000 remodel. If my ARV is 250 times by 0.93, I'm at 232.5. That is just after the 93%. That's my holding costs, my closing costs, and my commission that I have to pay to a realtor to sell the property. This isn't what I'm paying. This is what the end buyer has to factor in. So when you're thinking about all the numbers that a flipper is going to have to use and calculate to be able to get to the number to where they can commit to a deal to you being the wholesaler, they're going to factor in they have to hold the property, closing costs, commission paid to a realtor. Again, a good realtor will pay 1.2 to their listing agent, 2.5 to a buyer's agent, maybe 3% if they need to put it up to 3%, but still 1% to the listing agent. So if I'm at 232.5 being 93% minus a $60,000 renovation cost, 1,500 square feet, 40 bucks a square foot, we're at 172.5. Now, again, the after repair value times by 10% is what most people want to make in profit. So if it's a $250,000 house, the minimum profit they would want to make is $25,000. Don't be surprised if a lot of investors say, I want to make 40, 50, 60 on it. So in this case, just running my bare numbers, I'm going to say it's minus 25,000 because that's going to be 10% of the after repair value. So now I'm at 147.5. So if the after repair value is 250, my offer currently is at 147.5. Now that's before there's a wholesale fee. That's before anyone comes in and puts their fee on top. But let's say that you wanted to make $10,000. You want to make 10,000, your best offer you could put is 137.5. I don't advise offering 137.5, probably offer 135. If there's multiple offers, that's when you'd want to say 137.5, 140, factoring in just whatever it is that you know your buyer will pay. Whatever it is below that is what your fee is. So hopefully that makes sense. I appreciate you guys. If there's any other questions or anything, don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. I will probably direct you over to our Discord community. It's 100% free for people to join, but I try to go in there as much as I can, answer any questions you guys have. But I just want you guys to know I appreciate you. Thank you so much for popping in and for staying till the end of this if you guys have made it this far. If you guys need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I will see you guys next week. Peace out.